Hey Brian, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Hanging in there. How is New York real estate these days?
Uh, Having its challenges for sure.
You busy?
I wouldn't say it's busy. I would say that there's a lot of concern about the direction, just given
Yeah,
everything that's going on.
that's
So
what I
it's
hear. I have a lot of
it's a
guys
little
in New
frozen.
Jersey. Yeah, I have guys from Meridian financing, so they're saying it's like they can't refi in New York. No one wants to land in New York anything. They're just focusing New Jersey, Texas, the red states or Philadelphia, something like that.
Yeah, it's rough right now, but listen, change always creates opportunities, so you just got to be patient.
Yeah, let's hope. Very nice. Good to speak to you, man. I'm glad to see you.
Likewise. All right.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Before I start, on Sunday, I have an appointment with the eye doctor, so I will not be able to be giving the shir on Sunday. I think we're going to need to move the shir up till 9 o'clock in the morning, if that meets with everybody's, acceptance, because as I said, it's a summer schedule, and I think it'll be easier for me if we do it at 9 o'clock your time, 4 o'clock my time. So you let me know, and Mirz Hashem we will try to go through, the summer with, giving you a little vacation time too. But you let me know. Okay. I'd like to do a little bit on the parsha, and then if we have time, a little bit on the Peleh Yoetz also. Okay. This week's parsha in Chutz La'aretz, I think next week you catch up already. But this week's parsha in Chutz La'aretz is Parshas Korach. If we look in Pirkei Avos brings down in Parakeh, it says, when it discusses a machlokas l'shem shamayim and a machlokas shelo l'shem shamayim, it epitomizes the machlokas l'shem shamayim as the machlokas Hillel and Shammai, and the machlokas shelo l'shem shamayim is the machlokas Korach v'adoso, is Korach with his group. So one of the famous questions that's asked is, if you look at when it describes, the Mishnah is telling us about a machlokas l'shem shamayim, it says Shammai and Hillel. So we would expect on the when he's want to describe a machlokas shelo l'shem shamayim, it would be Korach and Moshe. But that's not the case, because the Mishnah Chazal are trying to teach us a very important deep lesson over here, that Moshe is not involved in the machlokas. There's no machlokas over between Korach and Moshe. Moshe is not involved. Hillel and Shammai, those two, they're looking to find the truth, and they're discussing it. There's no discussion over here. The machlokas truly is between Korach and his group, because I forgot the expression over here. Even if two people are enemy, but they have a third enemy who's, more important, and they get together, all of a sudden they become, friends. As I think they say, politics as strange bedfellows, brings people together that really have nothing in common with each other, but they just want to work together for a particular issue. So Tovia Korach and his group, they were really not united. They had different agendas. Everybody had their own agenda. But they got together in order to challenge Moshe. So that's one point we want to understand over here. Another one which we see over here seems to be somewhat atypical. The Chumash describes Moshe as the most humble person that ever lived. Moshe is the Onav Mikol Adam. And we see something over here which seems to be so atypical of Moshe. With Korach, Moshe Rabbeinu seems to be extremely perturbed, and he says that Hashem should not accept a korban from Korach. And he says that Korach has to die in a way which is totally unexpected, etc. Moshe Rabbeinu is acting seemingly very different than one would have thought Moshe would act. But the idea we have to understand, that, which is also very important for us to appreciate, is that Korach wasn't merely challenging Moshe. Korach was challenging what we call Torah's Moshe. If we look in the Midrashim, and they talk about what Korach, it says Vayikach Korach took. What did he take? So a number of the Midrashim point out, it says that he came into Moshe with a talus that was all tcheles, and he says, does it need tzitzis or not? So he says, yes, it does. And so they were laughing. They said, how could it be that if one has a garment that's not tcheles, all you need is one strand of tcheles. Here, this is a beggar which is kulei tcheles. Why in the world should it need a strand? Why should it need a strand of tcheles? It has all the tcheles in it anyway. Another Medrash brings down that he says a bias which is full of sfarim, does it need a mezuzah on it? So he said, yes, it does. And they said, well, one mezuzah is one parsha, and we have a whole room which is filled with parshios that needs a mezuzah. Doesn't, they started laughing. So from what I understood, my Rabbi Soloveitchik wanted to bring down that one of the understanding, what was Korach challenging? In other words, they were trying to give a certain understanding of mitzvahs, that mitzvahs are to give you a certain understanding, not necessarily an action, but an understanding. So if you have a beged which is all full of tcheles, so that should be good enough. And let's understand the understanding of the mitzvah. Mitzvah is to give you a certain awareness of Hashem. So if I have all that with me, what do I need that for? The same thing with a bias full of svarim. What do I need it for? I have that reminder there. So they were challenging the mitzvahs in practice. But what we see over here is that they were challenging what we call Torah's Moshe. In other words, they were belittling and putting down the Torah that Moshe was bringing down from Shemayim. They were saying that Moshe put these in on his own, that this is Moshe's, that this is not Torah mina Shemayim, this is Moshe's addition. And that's why we find Moshe being extremely, firm over here. And that's why he called for that the earth should open up. Why is it that the earth should open up? Because the idea is whenever there is a court case that needs to be adjudicated, so the pasuk says, "V'yada edim tia b'berishona," let the witnesses come and let them testify, just like we say in Parshas Hazinu, Hazinu Hashemayim v'aretz. Right, we say in Parshas Hazinu that the Eretz and the Shemayim, that they need to testify on the Jewish people on their keeping of the Torah or the non-compliance of the Torah. So too over here, Moshe Rabbeinu is saying that Hashem opened up all of Shemayim, that they saw that the Torah came down from Shemayim. It's not Moshe's Torah, it's Hashem's Torah that Moshe brought down from Shemayim, and that Korach is challenging that. So in order to put that clear, to make it understood that it's Torah from Shemayim, and that's not Moshe putting it in over there. So therefore he has the earth to testify on the behalf of that. And that's why the famous Gemara in Baba Basra discusses how Rabbi Bar Bachana went through the desert, the Sinai desert, and this Arab showed him where the Mesei Midbar were, where the dead of the Midbar are, and they showed him that, and he showed him where Korach, where the hole where Korach went in, and he told Rabbi Bar Bachana to put his ear to the hole over there, and he hears that every 30 days they come up and say Moshe emes v'Torah also emes. Their kapara is that they understood now that the Torah of Moshe is true, and that they weren't just challenging Moshe's leadership. They were trying to undermine the entire understanding that Torah came from Shemayim, and it was not Moshe's individual Torah. And that's why it was very crucial. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky also has a very fascinating idea, which will come up in the next parshas as we come up shortly over here, by the Mei Mariva when Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock, and Hashem said that Moshe Rabbeinu cannot come into Eretz Yisrael because of that, because of one slight diversion from what was said. So he said, why was there such a severe reaction to such a small deviation? So he said, because, again, it had to be understood unquestioningly that every single drop in the Torah is purely Hashem. Moshe is merely the conduit. It can never be thought for a moment that the Torah that we have has any human addition to it. It's purely Hashem's Torah. There could be no question of that, and that's why the Meshech Chochmah in his introduction to Chumash Shmos, as an introduction, then he talks about how Moshe Rabbeinu basically had to lose his humanity. He became a malach because there was no room for Moshe Rabbeinu to have any choice whatsoever. Moshe Rabbeinu had to completely be removed from all that, because there could never ever be a question that the Torah that we have is 100% Torah Hashem, and Moshe is the conduit to bring down the Torah. Moshe brought the Torah down from Shemayim, that's the Torah's Moshe, that he gave it to us. He brought it down from Shemayim and he gave it to us, but that it's Hashem's Torah. And that's why Rabbi Yaakov says that it had to be such a severe penalty, because that the Jew should see when there's any slight difference, then there was an immediate reaction from Shemayim to show that the Moshe Rabbeinu did nothing. There was never Moshe never deviated on any iota from anything that Hashem had, because it's all Torah Hashem. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu responded with such firmness over here, in order to remove any question that the Torah that Moshe brought down was the Torah of Hashem and not his Torah. And that's what Korach was challenging over here. It wasn't merely a question of leadership issue, a personal issue. It became an issue of what's the Torah. Was it Hashem's Torah or an additional Torah? So this is the idea that I wanted to bring out with you as far as the Parsha goes. And I wanted to do a little piece over here. I mean, it's not a little piece. It's a pretty big piece from the Peleh Yoetz, unless there are any questions as far as what I mentioned with Korach. Not, then we will continue. Okay. So this piece over here it deals a little bit with tefillah, which we've been discussing, and davening and things like that. And the title of it is called Bechia. Tears, which are an important part of tefillah as well. I think I once heard quote in the name of Rav Hutner Zichron Levracha, the Rosh Yeshiva from in Brooklyn. I forgot the name. You know it, and I don't know. I'm getting old. I forgot already. But anyway, Chaim Berlin, right? Rosh Yeshiva Chaim Berlin. So he mentions that just like you can't have a machzer, an haggadah with wine stains all over it, so too a machzer has to be filled with tears, because that's part of davening. I think Rabbi Wein once said over a story. He said that again, when people have seats for Yom Noraim in shuls. So he once said that when he was the rabbi in the shul, he says one of the balabatim came over to him. He says, I can't sit next to this person in davening. I can't sit next to him. So Rabbi Wein was trying to, he thought that he had personal, issues with him. He said, it's not nice, he says, no. He says, this man cries too much. I can't daven next to him. He just cries too much. So we do see that tears are definitely a part and parcel of tefillah. So he brings down in the piece here, he says, Eis livkos. He says there are times when it's important to tear. Kagon, for example, B'yosem espal Hashem, when a person is davening to Hashem. B'shofech sicha, it's a truly sincere tefillah, and his neshama is is expressing itself. Doresh slicha, it's asking for forgiveness. B'viduyim, v'techinos, ala chatoyim, v'alavonos. Person recognizes his shortcomings, and he appreciates, he has a sensitivity for how it's damaging him, and he's pleading that Hashem should forgive him for that. Because besides the personal issue, again, we mentioned this a number of times, that when a person sins, it's in effect, it's a betrayal to Hashem. Hashem, is giving me, and I'm betraying him. So we're asking forgiveness from Hashem that we betrayed him. So Yishpach Kemayim Libo, he's pouring out his heart. V'teirad nadimosav, and his tears come. Right? And like it brings down a Befrat B'yimei Chodesh Elul, Ha'adirim, the precious month of Elul, which is an entire month of, we're already Tammuz, it's, not that far off. Anyway, it's Elul, and it's, when a person is trying to prepare oneself, and that's Shemei Tshuva. Asher Melech B'mishpat Yomei Oretz, it's a time for judgment. And we recognize that there's an accounting over here. We don't come in to speak to the king in a demanding tone. On the contrary, we have to be, it's like they bring down, two people are coming in to ask for a loan from a bank. You have a poor person, and then you have a wealthy person. Even wealthy people need loans from banks, but they come in with two different ways of presenting themselves. The rich person comes in demanding because the bank wants him, they can make money off of him. But the poor person, when he's asking for a loan, it's a whole different presentation. So the same thing over here, when we're asking Hashem for things, even on a daily basis, it's a different type of a presentation. It's not like we're making demands over here. It's that that there are certain things that are, like we say, Hebrew Magili, certain things which are coming to me, that's a misnomer. Nothing is coming. So therefore it's a different presentation. Sharidim alone in alone, we have a very famous idea that if someone is truly sincere in his tefillah, then those gates are not locked. That there's always an opening for that. Like it's brought down in the Zohar, he quotes the Zohar over here, on the pasuk v'tiftach v'tireyu es hayeled, right? Famous idea by Moshe Rabbeinu. It says that Bas Paro opened up the basket that Moshe was in, v'tireyu es hayeled, and they saw the child, v'nei nar boche, and they saw this young man crying. So again, the Meforshim discuss why it's a yellow, then it changed to Na'ar, which is a whole discussion, but you see what the Zohar does with this beautiful insight over here. So the Zohar says, Do Yisrael. The word Nahar over here is referring to the Jewish people, Moshe Rabbeinu being the representation of who the Jewish people are, because it says, Ki Na'ar Yisrael. The Navi Hosea describes the Jewish people as a Na'ar. So when the pasuk over here in Shmos is describing Moshe, and it's saying it's a Na'ar Boche, it's describing the Jewish people, and it's describing the Jewish people in tears. Umiyad de poschen bebechia, and the moment that Moshe, or as we understand the representation of Moshe being the Jewish people, started crying, what does it say immediately afterwards in the pasuk? V'tachmal olav. She had compassion on him. She had compassion on him. And that is the impact of tefillah. So when we're coming to Hashem and we're coming to davening with a certain type of a presentation, then this is the key to bringing out that chemla, that compassion on us. Because for Guri Ari, the Peleh Yoetz quotes here the Talmidim of the Ari, a very interesting idea. He says, Shetfila, something which we see this all the time. Shetfila shacharis, this is how they define it. Listen to this. Shetfila shacharis yispalel besimcha. When one comes to shacharis, one should come to shacharis besimcha, and tfilas arves is bebechia. Where do you see that idea? Very interesting idea. because we see it says in the pasuk, but Erev Yalan Bechi, in the evening one goes to sleep in tears, but Labokerina, and in the morning one is rejoicing. So therefore they see that as an indication of how one should present oneself in the different davenings. There are different approaches. Shachar is besimcha, and Ma'ariv is bechi. But listen to what the Peleh Yoetz wants to bring down. It says, Avali says you should know, Kagon Anan, when it comes to us, Yasme de Yasme, we're so far removed from all this. Halavai shenis palal kol tfilasenu bebechi. Those again, a bechi is, tears are a representation of our understanding of how undeserving we are for anything that we are asking for. That's what's happening over here. It's that type, like I say, it's a poor person presenting himself. So he's saying, since we're so far removed from where we should be, he says, Halavai, he said it would be an amazing thing if all our tefillahs would be presented that way. V'hafal pi, here we go, which is this famous idea. Hafal pi, shetzorach lios oved es Hashem b'simcha. Even though there's no question that a person has to serve Hashem b'simcha. U'betuv leivov, and a good heart, Yosem Mirov Kol. The person has to always be besimcha and to show his appreciation for everything that Hashem has given him. We need this mixture over here. He says, Mikol Makom, he says, Sarach Shiyumo Ravim Zebazeh. The two emotions need to be synthesized. Ayin b'mar, this is what he brings down over here. He says the eye should be mar bocha, should be tearing. But the leiv, the heart, should be besimcha. Simcha mehai gisa. On the one hand, we are elated. We are so overwhelmed with joy on what Allah shares zocha, that we're privileged. Lihiyos, that we should be omedu mishares lifnei melech hakavod, that we have the privilege and the opportunity to stand before the Creator, the melech hakavod. Bosa nachas lifnei kisei kvoda, and to give nachas before Hashem. Shein simcha ba'olam gadola bizu. There's no greater simcha than to be able to stand before the Creator. That's on the one hand. Ubemeriris, however, on the other hand, there needs to be this bitterness in us, this feeling of lacking. Yonech, and bemoaning al asher eino yodeya. We don't know. Leos oved elokim kadas malaso. We're so confused and so confounded on how to serve Hashem properly. So we have this dichotomy within us, but that's the way we need to cultivate it, to have
Question.
to come to it in both ways. Well, Befrat, he says specifically, Besito elibo divrei hatfila. Specifically, when we're putting our heart with tefillah, when he says, V'chanenu, he says, V'chanenu mitcha chochma bina v'das. When a person pleads with Hashem to give him understanding, right? I've heard of famous Rosh Yeshivas that when they would say this, they would tear and tear and tear for that they to understand things. So right now, Yiskor miut erko, a person should think to himself how small he is. Well, right, how small we are. Well, Barman, we say Hashivenu Avinu, all the tefillahs he's going through, the middle part of the Shemon Esrei over here, when we ask for our requests. Gam ken yisker kihu rachok me Hashem, how far we are from Hashem. And by Slach Lanu Avinu ki chatanu yisker v'tasuach alav navsha, we should pour out his soul al asher chata, that he sinned to the king. Oyim v'nor v'chein al zeh derech. This is throughout all of the middle bakoshes of the Shemon Esrei. Kiten alibo b'kol with all these brachas v'divrat tfilos. Yim tzamakom lismamer bebechi. There's certainly room for a feeling of tears. V'yishpach nafsho bebechia u'b'tachanunim yidaber rosh. That's the way a poor person comes. Doeg on the one hand, he's concerned, and on the other hand, again, boteach al rachmei shemayim merubim, that Hashem has this enormous compassion for us. So we have this again, this duality over here. which is what we bring down on Rosh Hashanah also, this mindset. But again, this is something that we're supposed to carry with us through our entire year. This idea that we have both with us. Number one, our concern of our failings, but we have such a reliance on Hashem that, and I think, who was it? Rabbi Pincus mentioned, he used to quote the pasuk in Tehillim. He says, no matter where you are, Hashem, I'm just running to you. In other words, no matter how far we go away, we're just always trying to come closer to Hashem, because that's where we go. That's where we go. Are there any comments or is over here?
Had a question. So, if one is stressed the whole day long, and he's bechi basically the whole day long, it's very hard to add on during Shemona Esrei.
He's not that. He's talking about during davening.
You have a hard day. You have a hard day. You have a difficult time. Yeah, but you come into davening already stressed and protrude and issue. Yeah, you're already sort of at the level where you're already in the middle of Shemona Esrei on the aspect of being upset and begging Hashem for help, fighting traffic, fighting children, homework, shalom bayis, business, government, everything. So in essence, you're already at that level. It's very hard to raise it up, again to another level. No.
Well, again. Does it take effort to be able to reach these levels? It sure does. It certainly takes a certain sense. I mean, he's going to continue with this. It definitely takes a certain sensitivity. You're quite correct. You're right. A person in his day is going through a war zone, and it's not easy to to come out from a war zone and then to be able to speak to the Creator. But again, if we appreciate what we can come away with the tefillah, so then, little by little, you have to try to take it, to take what you can come away with. Tefillah can open up so many keys for me. It can, it's like we mentioned before. Rashi brings down in the Chumash that Hashem wants to give it. He wants you for you, the key. The tefillah is a key, is a certain button to press, and then that opens up Shemayim for me. So if I understand what I can come away with the tefillah and how crucial it'll be to me, so then it will help me focus better and to try to take more advantage of the tefillah than I usually do. But there's no question, and as I said many times, the Yetzer Hara knows what one can come away with tefillah. And that's why, I quoted you the cute story that Reb Shalom Shodron said, that he saw himself, that he was running, he was walking through the shuk, and then somebody punched him in the chest. Then he realized that he was saying, Shmon Esrei Slach Lanu Avinu Ki Chatanu. The Yetzer Hara tries to take away tefillah from us at every moment that it can be, because it realized that this is the connection that I have with Hashem. And since I'm connecting with Hashem, the Yetzer Hara wants to disconnect. So he uses every way he can to cause that disconnect. And you're right. But as I said, if we, little by little, we should try to, at least try to get in the first line or the second line in on Shemona Esrei, to try and get to that to be on a higher level. And then little by little, it takes time, no question about it. It's an enormous fight to make tefillah to come away with what tefillah could be. Because again, as I said, this is where the Yetzer Hara knows that what can we come away with is so crucial. And we see throughout all of Jewish life that whenever moments of opportunity came, the fight was fierce to take it away. And as I said, you see this all the time with tefillah. The fighting is fierce because the Yetzer Hara knows exactly what can come away with the tefillah. Next time I'll coach you the Gemara, and it's very fascinating. Gemara.
You want to see a video right now while you're driving?
Sure.
You're looking at me.
I'm sorry, does someone have a question?
Thank you very
Rabbi,
much.
Rabbi, I want you to know that you've been very helpful in my tefillah, because every time that I get a distraction, whatever point I am at in Shemona Esrei, I tell myself, the Yetzer Hara, I'm not going to let you win this time, at least from here.
Good.
So
Excellent.
I did that very much.
Good.
Happy morning.
Excellent. That's phenomenal. That's what you got to do, little by little. Correct.
I don't remember where I heard this over from, but just as the Yetzer Hara looks to try to distract us at pivotal times, rather than try to, attack back, a subtle way is to use his subtle ways, is to say, I hear you, you bring up a good point, but let's talk about it later. And somehow that, that distraction gets you focused, that pushing away that distraction. So, I mean, you have to be on a certain level, but it works for me,
Right.
as opposed to just trying to, invest too much time trying to fight it. Just accept it. You're there, and say, we'll talk later. I'm busy now.
Right. Good. Very good, Brian. Right. Yeah. You have to, the HR, you have to know how to deal with him. Correct. To take on a head-on attack. He's a little bit more advanced than you are. Correct. You have to know. Yeah. But you have somebody, again, that's what the Gemara brings down. It's Hashem Ozro. It's always, you just you can raise your hands up, You come to a certain point, it's like the famous story with by Avram Avinu when he was brought to the Akedah. So it says he came to a river, and then the river split, and I kept going. So the Midrash brings that it didn't come to a physical river. He said what was happening is the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, was drowning him with questions. So Avram Avinu says, I don't know, I just give up my hands. That's it. I can't answer you, Hashem. And then Hashem just split it, that's it. Sometimes we just reach a point where we know we came up, I can't, Hashem, you're there to help me. And then that's when then Hashem steps in. I went as far as I could go, and I need you, Hashem. Right? There's one more idea, then I have to stop, I apologize. A very famous statement. It's a little bit different, but it's such a beautiful story. I just want to share it with you. Rabbi Cheskel Abramsky was in Siberia, and they took him there, and he was saved. I'll tell you the story next time about that. But anyway, he came to Siberia, and they had a coat, and he had nothing to wear. It was freezing. They had nothing to wear. He says, "Listen, it says in the Gemara that Hashem's in charge of everything except for tzinim and pachin. When it comes to cold or heat, that's up to you, because you're able to, if it's cold, put on a coat. If it's warm, so, figure it out what to do. That Hashem's not in charge of. He says, Hashem, they took me here to Siberia. I can't take care of this anymore. This is in your hands also, Hashem. And he said that he never felt cold one day in his whole life in Siberia. Never. Even with what he was wearing, practically nothing. But he said, here, Hashem, you have to take over. Everything else is in your hands but here I can't do it anymore. You have to take over, Hashem. And he said he never felt cold a day in his experience in Siberia. But these were people that, were on that level. Yeah. Okay.
I heard just a great line about the weather you mentioned. It's like, let a warm heart control your temperature, not a hot head.
Very nice. Hashem. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful Shabbos. And as I said, I apologize. Sunday, I have an eye doctor appointment. That's what happens. But Mitzvah Hashem on Monday. And as I said, Bezrat Hashem at 4 o'clock works. So we'll try and work that out for the summer. Mitzvah Hashem. Okay, have a wonderful Shabbos.
Good Shabbos, Rabbi.
Good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Okay.